Okay, so now it's 2:05. Welcome, Amanda, to the session. And welcome. Thank you for attending the Parents as Caregiver Partners Conference. My name is Kimberly, and today I will be presenting. I'm excited and nervous at the same time to present one of my favorite topics, the importance of art education and connecting families, schools, and communities. First, before we start, I would like to do a land acknowledgement. I would like to acknowledge that this land is situated on traditional territories. These territories include the Wendat, the Anishinaabe Nation, and the Haudenosaunee Confederacy, and the Mississaugas of the New Credit and the Métis Nation. So our topic today is the importance of art education and how it connects families, schools, and communities. Hello, Olina. My name is Kimberly, and I'm currently on the board of directors of the nonprofit organization that started. It started with a bunch of parents and trustee Manawang in the doing an art bus tour. That's why one of our themes is the school bus connecting the community. So Arts Intersection Agent Court is Arts Intersection Agent Court is a nonprofit art organization, and we use AIA for short, and we provide art opportunities to children and families in Scarborough Agent Court. Let's see, Scarborough Agent Court. It's made of a collective of parents and community members who are passionate about art and bringing the community together. And as sitting on the board as one of the event and marketing persons, I created a website as well as several events for AIA. We were established as a nonprofit organization last year, and but we have like history of working with other organizations in our community. I am at first a parent with 3 children, and being the youngest in junior kindergarten to the eldest in high school. I have a Bachelor of Arts in Sociology and a degree in Early Childhood Education and a certification in Project Management. I worked in like all kinds of different places, voluntarily, anything you can name. I've probably done something. On the AIA board, we currently have 5 board members, including myself. Zajun is our president. Rachel D'Souza is our treasurer. And our secretary is Robert Spencer. And Menno Boyster is our educational professional relations. Like he used to work with the school boards.
Art.
So, what
when
is
we hear
art?
that word,
like, sorry. What is art? The term art is related to Latin word ars, meaning art, skills, and crafts. So, before the presentation was going to play the video, I was going to ask everyone, what do they think is art to them? The meaning of art to you? Anybody? Or no? That's fine. I'm going to play a short clip on art. Oh, I think we have someone. Creative expression. Yes, it is creative expression. It's creative expression, and in any way, so any possibility is art. So I'm going to play this short clip on art taken by.
Some of our minds jump to museums or framed paintings, and in that context, some people think, nah, I'm not a big fan of art, I just don't get it. Or they think of art as something that's just for intellectuals or artsy people. But really, art is for anyone who wants to experience it, and it's often in more places than we might realize. Songs you like, movies you watch, poems, theater, even a quilt that your grandmother made. All of that and more is art. So you might be wondering, well, then what is art? How do I define it? Well, that's tough. Art's been around for thousands of years, and through the ages it's evolved in a number of different ways. And the reasons for creating it vary from person to person depending on any number of factors. So defining art is pretty tricky, and it's something that's been debated throughout history. There just isn't one agreed upon definition. However, many believe that art is anything that stirs emotion in you. Now, the emotions that get stirred up are really just a label. Over the years, a lot of people have tried to classify what it is or what it isn't, but that's not really what art is about. It's about your personal experience with it and the meaning that you draw from it. Everyone reacts to art differently and has the potential to grow and learn from it. It gives us the opportunity to tell stories, record history, and tap into our emotions in a way that few other things can. Art.
Oops. So art teaches us, do we need art in the 21st century? And this diagram kind of explains how. I'm not going to go through each point because my next slide will go through some details. But art is basically all kinds of skills that children can use in education. So art is part of every subject. So physical education, for example, art increase endurance, coordination, stretching, explore movements, coach drawing game plans, flexibility, and balance. So I took these subjects from like a list of subjects in the curriculum that I found. NHL goaltender Ray Amaro, former heavyweight box champion Evander Holyfield, and Arnold Schwarzenegger has all taken ballet classes to be better athletes. There were many studies that showed that it also reduces fatigue when you exercise. So for sure, like when I go to the gym and exercise, music does help me increase my time without music to exercise. I'm not sure, show of hands if anybody feels the same way.
Lessons when I was in high school.
I remember I read an article about it, that you took ballet lessons.
Yeah, and it was all, to make me a better all-around athlete. Some of the greatest athletes in the world are on the dance floor and ballet.
By the way, Arnold took ballet. Arnold, the bodybuilder, Mr. Olympia.
Yeah.
He took ballet.
Herschel Walker took ballet.
Herschel
Willie
Walker
Gault
took ballet. Yeah.
So some of the greatest athletes of our time have taken up ballet.
What did that do for you? Is it flexibility?
It was flexibility.
Balance?
It was balance. It was training muscles that typically don't have a chance to get strengthened through traditional strength training methods when you're playing football or basketball. To take this body, 245-pound body, and move it gracefully across the floor, doing demi-plies and spins, and having to land gracefully, forcing myself to do that time and time again. When I go on the football field and I have to do a spin, it's going to be second nature. So it was cross-training for me. It's taking everything that I apply, immersing myself to really understanding the craft of being, what would you call it?
I don't know what I would call it for. I know ballerina for male. I don't know what it would be for male.
For male ballerina.
Yes.
I will say that. I really had to lose myself in that and become that. So when I went back on the football field, I would be an enhanced person of myself, a different version of myself.
So second subject would be mathematics tool, and most of the time I see my kids bring home artwork that is part related to math. Math goes hand in hand with the artwork. Like in the elementary level, there is many art related tasks that like counting, even like shape, patterning, all kinds of math related art that helps the child learn and to get a visualized concept of math. I myself is not a math person when I was young, so actually art was helped me with math, like learning the math concepts, and helped me improve on my mathematics skills. Actually, some of the famous work paintings, such as the Mona Lisa, was actually use math to create it, like the golden ratio. And same thing with photography today. There are many books and resources available for projects that can help you learn the foundation, like help kids learn the foundation of math through art. And it's commonly found in libraries and everywhere.
Lessons.
Next.
In the last few decades, neuroscience.
Okay, so English literature, sorry. English literature. So language is art. So language, either it's English or a different language, French, Chinese, all language is art because it's story writing, storytelling is an art form, plays, movies, script writing, posters, signs, newspapers, anything you can think of is art. And they have studies that show that music is also, when used in language, actually helps build the language, because when you sing a song in a foreign language and language you are learning, you will naturally try to reproduce the sound you hear, which leads to pronouncing the words correctly. So if you, that's why in elementary school, there's a lot of singing associated with language. At the daycares, there's like songs and rhythms, repetition, and just to help the children practice saying the language. I actually, my Mandarin's really bad, but then I was like, sometimes I practice as well. I listen to music, watch films. So, and art is also like, this is a picture of my child on the corner under English and literacy, my child writing in chalk drawing of art, in language, learning the alphabets, in the playground, listening to sounds and singing.
Scientists have made enormous breakthroughs in understanding how our brains work by monitoring them with instruments like fMRI. So when researchers got the participants to listen to music, they saw multiple regions light up. But what's more interesting is that when they observed brains of musicians while playing an instrument, the whole brain lit up like sky with fireworks. So while listening to music engages some interesting brain regions, playing music is the brain's equivalent of a full body workout. Also, through brain scans, we have found that musicians have different brains than non-musicians. People who play an instrument have bigger, better connected, more sensitive brains. A study from 2008 showed that children who had at least 3 years of instrumental music training performed better than their non-musical counterparts on a variety of tests, mainly in auditory discrimination abilities and fine motor skills. But they also tested better on vocabulary and non-verbal reasoning skills, which involve understanding and analyzing visual information, such as identifying relationships, similarities and differences between shapes and patterns. These two areas in particular are quite removed from musical training as we imagine it, so it's fascinating to see how learning to play an instrument can help kids develop such a wide variety of important skills.
science and technology. Technology has a recent, I think from my son's high school, I have a son in high school, they sent a link on a recent talk of a student, and they said how technology has increased accessibility to art, and art, as on the vice versa, has increased accessibility to technology as well, like into the because she's now a programmer, and she also does art, like art programming and digital art. So so and she, in her presentation, she mentioned how art, she wasn't, like, technology wasn't accessible for her, and with the link through art, she managed to get into the field of technology. So it was interesting presentation, that, and how immigration also put a barrier in her life. So that was an interesting session. So digital art and Zoom, like the Zoom we're using today, how making school more accessible to experience. On our during the summer, we collaborate with Mana Wong, Trustee Mana Wong, and for Ward 20, and as well as an artist and few collectives through AIA, we set up art gallery. So art gallery, we gathered before the school closed, we gathered all the art in the area and community, and we put it into an art gallery at the Clark Center of Arts, but it wasn't accessible for everyone because the Clark Center of Arts is not situated right in Ward 20, Scarborough Agincourt. So I took all the art pieces, like every single picture, we took all the pictures and posted it on to our website and making a virtual gallery. So virtual galleries are popping up everywhere as well for accessibility to viewing art. When I say art, it doesn't mean that it could be art in any form can help increase a child's ability. It's not necessarily, okay, I'm the best artist, best drawer, I'm the worst. Like for me, Kimberly is the worst, probably the worst artist, not even closest to the artist, but it's just that it's not about the end product. Maybe it's sometimes it's of the process, because it helps increase the abilities for other subjects as well. So that's why it's important for it to be in school. Tech art is now created a whole new experience for being immersed into the art, like the Van Gogh, the immersed Van Gogh that's happening, was happening in Toronto, the immersed Robert Munch, which my child had a field trip recently there, and I'm so fortunate that the teacher is an excellent teacher, and she tries to incorporate every art into the classroom. Art is a tool for science, so you can science for modeling, charts, understanding elements, chemical reactions. So in the pictures I have there is my daughter looking through the sunlight in a crystal and creating patterns on the wall. Like that's her art form of looking at rainbows, colors. And one of the library often has 3D printing workshops, and they create art through 3D printing structures, so you can explore the library as well. And also, like, sometimes this one was at the Bridlewood Mall in my local area, and they had displays of bugs displays of and then they had science information about the insects, and so that's how art could relate to science through models and presentation. So I have a short clip here on science.
My name is Anouk Wiplecht, and I combine fashion with technology. Fashion is about expression and about communication, and I want to make that more electronic.
When an interactive artwork forms an engagement with people in the audience, you can watch a sort of conversation develop. The artwork's not really fully realised until those interactions have been allowed to occur. My name's Jeffrey Drake Brockman, and I'm a cybernetics artist. I work in the most isolated city in the world, Perth, Western Australia. For a long time I had two parallel lives. I was an IT guy, a computer programmer, and I was also a painter. I kept the whole idea of art completely separate from computation. And that just sort of led to a crisis. I thought, what am I doing? Who am I kidding? So I let it in, and suddenly I was making artworks which were robotic. Cybernetics is about interaction. It can be made out of any kind of technology. You can use electronics, computers, even clockwork to enable conversations to take place between people and artworks.
The mission of Factum Foundation is to record cultural heritage. So in the event that there's a disaster or an accident, we have the data to know what was there exactly as it is. We're pioneering a number of methods to return that information into the physical world. We're doing CNC milling, we're doing 3D printing, but we're trying to go beyond that. A facsimile of the Borgharini Chapel, the facsimile of the tomb of Tutankhamun in the Valley of the Kings, an exact facsimile of Veronese's wedding at Cana.
People who are not in STEM and kind of have an outside look at software development sometimes don't understand how truly creative it is. Reading lines of code is like reading poetry. It's an art form in itself, and it's a culture of really bringing ideas to light. I started coding when I was 9 years old, and I've been dancing since I think I was able to walk. My father is a dancer, so it was in my blood.
So there's one A where Mateo's on his own? Mm-hmm.
So I had a plan in life. I had a direction. I was going to be a professional dancer. Everything was lined up. And then I got cancer. It changed the whole path of my life. While I was in recovery, I'm not really good at sitting still, so I was writing software from the hospital bed. I've gotten almost obsessed, like it was something that just kept me going. And when I came back home, I wanted to dance again. I was in the midst of trying to find ways to mix dance and technology, and that's when I came up with the idea of the light suits and wirelessly programming them to make really amazing visual art.
All right, I'm gonna stop at this cue when it starts. Let's just see if this is right before they dance. Over there.
We were up hours and hours and hours writing the software and trying different things, and it was just a lot of fun. The end product is as simple as me pressing one button and the lights turn on, and another button and they change color, and a few buttons and a sequence happens. We were performing in public spaces, and the more positive reactions we got, the more confident I was to just go for it. And just a few months after that, we were on America's Got Talent, and the rest is kind of history.
It's groundbreaking what you do. It's incredible. You create everything from zero, and it's just brilliant.
So looking at the video, they also mention about restoration of history and relating to art. So art history, and also there's map and geography and the subjects of social studies, where we could they usually use like my kids before had like subjects where they use art, presentation skills. They did skits on like maybe pioneer unit, reenacting the history, making history more interesting, because history and possibly geography, if it's not like linked with art, it could get kind of dull sometimes because it's a lot of information into the brain. like I learn a lot of history through videos and documentary makes it a little bit more interesting. But I noticed that my son recently, like he's in high school, but I'm telling everyone on camera that he's like saying actually his history class, he's because he's in high school, they don't incorporate a lot of art anymore and doesn't have a lot of physical activities with learning history. So it's more talk, and sometimes there is some really long talks of and reading, and for him it's probably it gets a little bit dry. So then he does say, "One mom, once in a while I think I'm falling asleep in class," because of, it's not like he's tired, because I do make him have a curfew bedtime still, even though he's in high school, but it's just that how can it enhance the history lesson in making it more interesting in class. So, or even for him to focus more on like maybe using some kind of art form to focus more on learning it at home as well. I try to.
Much easier to just recognize things around us instead of actually looking. We don't care how many leaves are on a tree or how its branches are shaped. All we need to do is identify the tree so we don't run into it. We reduce the world to labels. But when we draw, then we actually have to look and discover the world around us. The labels disappear and we see what is actually there right now. We situate ourselves in the world. And because we pay such intense attention to what is around us, it becomes a part of us. So when I think back of this beautiful French small town where I spent last summer, I can remember many beautiful details because I spent the time and the effort to look and draw them. Much easier.
So like the clip says, sometimes we just pass by a lot of things without knowing in detail. So drawing, creating art allows us to focus more on like maybe the different aspects, analyze it, seeing every part of it. Same thing with how possibly he could use it for, my son could use it for history as well.
Much easier.
Wait, there we go. Sorry. This is, I took this from the ROM. So we went to the ROM recently, and it shows that like how artists gets involved in history or science of in the museums of art. And this was during the pandemic, and they did have a mask, all the different types of masks, artistry of fashion, innovation of masks, different types of masks during the time that we had to wear masks or it was mandatory. And they took it to, the artists took it to a next level and having like even like design and culture of masks in different places. And also we saw like how things that like dinosaurs or different animals or ancient things that they have to replicate in the museum, they draw it first. So drawing is one of the keys. So it was a pretty interesting thing I just passed by when I was bringing my daughter to the ROM. So art intersects and connects, and this is where art, so art help families, communities, and schools heal by reducing mental health issues. And through the pandemic, there was many situations when even like a dear friend had lost a child due to mental health, and also the community, all the children were not at their best. So Dr. Jill Sonke from University of Florida presents why medicine needs art. So art changes us, and we know that when we experience art either actively or passively, that we have a rush of endorphins, which is the wonderful brain chemicals that reduce pain and stress. It also helps, gives a rush of dopamine, another good feeling brain chemicals, which study shows help many disease like Parkinson's disease to reduce symptoms. There's treatments for mental health and treatments called art therapy, that a field that makes the art making process to help people and individuals and community to heal physically, mentally, and emotionally. So they have a lot of resources online for art therapy. And unfortunately, like I was doing some research and it's like, okay, it's not really in our Scarborough Asian Court area. That's where AIA is like kind of like thinking about maybe increasing, trying to increase more activities in our Scarborough Asian Court area versus other areas there. But there's other community areas has groups like ours as well. So research finding from UNICEF mentioned that mental health in children helped children function, good mental health helped children function well at home, school, and their communities, and a greater chance of leading to happy and successful lives. And on the contrary, poor mental health during childhood can severely impact the way a child learns, behave, and handle emotions. So I believe that like our mental stability is a foundation, just like how hunger, or like it's one of those things that in order for a child to function in school, they need that foundation. Okay, art intersects and connects. So I just gathered some things that we done and showing, I'm just gonna speak to the pictures, each one. So first one is like during the pandemic, and we all love our pets. My daughter loves Buster, our bunny, and it's just connecting with anything. So that picture is like connecting. The second one is a bunch of ladies in our community were writing letters over the last holiday for elderlies in the home and sending them little gift cards, origami, things like so we can deliver them to the elderly home and help them connect to them, help them relieve loneliness, probably mental health. Oh, the holidays, you can't see anybody. Some of them might not have anybody. So it's arts and connecting the community. And then recently we did a hike, and that's a hike. So we done a hike, and before the hike, we done a workshop. So in the far right corner is our workshop. The workshop was artists came in and did a workshop on how to take art. Like they showed the golden ratio, show any strategies, how to take art. They talk about art, some art pointers. And after the art session, we went to one of the ravines, and a bunch of people in the community, including all the youngest would be 3 all the way to 80. So our whole community was doing a hike and photography. So we hiked around the trail and they took pictures. And at the end of the hike, they submitted their artwork, like their photography, for like the best ravine art gets a prize. And then there was through Let's Talk Science, there is a program where children can create postcards. So in the community, we connected with our scouting group, some TDSB kids, and some community members, and then we did design postcards. And through that program with the postcards, you can actually send them into space, like mail them all in one. So I mailed them all in, and then they will launch it in a space rocket and then send it all to space. And when it comes back, they will stamp it and then send it back to each individual child. Also, art connecting culture and community. So I put in part of the Indigenous festival. They were doing paddles, and I attended that program. I wasn't, it's not run by us, but we attend community programs. And they were doing an online workshop on learning about more of the Indigenous art and their culture, and through why they use paddles. And it was a fun event. Like I get to connect the community, the people, get to meet others. As I mentioned, in the summer we did an art gallery. So for the art gallery, my son was the check-in person, so he was voluntold as the registration. So he took over the task of because he's not much of an artist, so he does, but he took over the task of, he loves to talk, so he took over the task of registration. At that day, there was also the festival going out at the Clark Center, so he pointed everyone to the ice cream truck, to talking to, like, learning to talk to anybody, greeting everyone, whoever came in the gallery. He even tried to ask the staff for their badge. So that was one of the events that we hosted, and all the art is also online through the website for people that could not go to the event. And there are many resources in the community that connects everyone, like that connects and have programs for children to help them increase their art skills or others and other skills as well, because art is everything. I believe art is everything. So through Scarborough Arts, I actually learned about jewelry making, because they had these workshops of jewelry making. Also, they have some culture walks as well. So if anybody interested, you can check out Scarborough Arts, and also Workman Arts has similar events. And if your child is looking for like something that is grants or anything for artists, then Toronto Art Council or the Toronto Art Foundation might be able to direct you to some grants. The Toronto Public Library and the TDSB, as well as the Toronto Fund, also has a lot of art programs and other programs as well. And actually, I put in the date. I think the next registration for Toronto Fund is December 7th. And right now, the TDSB actually has opened the registration, I think opening soon, the registration for applications to TDSB art programs. I was looking on the website because I got a notification of, so they have the specialized school for arts as well, if your child is interested. They have the cyber arts program, which goes from grade 6 to 8, and they learn about visual arts and follows the Ontario curriculum and explores traditional and digital arts, as well as the elementary art-focused schools. There's I just found out that there's 2 schools, the Claude Watson School for Arts and the Karen Kane School for Arts. I think you register in grade 4. I think entry in grade 4 only has 60 spots, but you register in grade 4, you could get into the grade 5. But if you want more details, check out the TDSB website or from your local trustee or school administrator. I don't have all the details. I'm a parent just like you. And this is our website, artsintersection.ca, intersex.ca. And we have an art event directory there. So I try to update as much as I can. And if anybody knows any events or anything, can enter it on the website as well. And then I'll post it for other people. But I try to do a search for art events, and our virtual art gallery is there as well. And that comes to the end of my presentation. Anybody has any?
I want Kimberly, thank you so much for your presentation, and it's really a nice presentation and useful information for me. Thank you.
Oh, thank you. It's my first presentation as a in this
so
parent as a partner conference. So I was like, I'm a little bit nervous.
Oh, congratulations. It was so interesting. I have 2 boys and they like art. But I was you gave me so much information about where can I check some art programs for them. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.